Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoyed that conversation. Now we're going to shift gears, and I'm going to go to a couple that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And I'll tell you, what our show together was one of the more notable shows I've done out of 700 shows here on Coast View. But before we go any further, let me bring Chari and Craig Davis into the conversation. How are y'all doing?
So good. We're happy to see you.
Doing great.
It's good to see you too. So where are you sitting right now?
We're sitting in the living room, the front room of the Bootleg Howl in downtown Biloxi.
Good. That one of your entrepreneurial efforts. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Unique name, and when we talked, you were actually still in the process of the renovations of that place, and very hands-on, I might add, because I saw some of your social media posts. You also have the Jackson Pearl in Ocean Springs, and it's a very, very special place. It's very eclectic and creative, and I love following your posts. How do you describe, when you talk about what you do, independent of where you're sitting now in the Jackson Pearl, how do you describe what you do? Just entrepreneurs, or how do you describe it?
That's a really good question, Ricky. We get that asked all the time. People say, well, what do you do? And we kind of look at each other and laugh because we are a multifaceted duo. That is, like you said, very hands-on in everything that we do. We're entrepreneurs, we're small business owners, and we're just passionate about being creative and bringing new things to the world and bringing a lot of love into everything that we do, and hopefully just kind of bringing positivity into everything.
Yeah. Well, what always struck me about your story is that you came from California, had success in California. It's sort of like you sold the ranch and you moved to Mississippi, and you have no regrets at all about it. You loved what you did. It was such a sort of abrupt move, but you've not only made the best of it, but it's defined you now, hasn't it?
Yes. Way to put that in a great context. It really has. We were talking about this over coffee this morning, and we just celebrated our official 3-year anniversary of purchasing what is now the Jackson Pearl. And
awesome. Well, how's business?
It's so great. It's so wonderful. But we were just saying, as small business owners, we didn't take out a business loan. We did everything out of savings, and we just really put our heart and soul and everything that ultimately we had into moving down here and creating something here on the Gulf Coast. And everything is better for it. And we're so happy that we did it, but we just wish that we maybe had made the decision sooner.
Hey, so Craig, when you look at sort of let's just specifically talk about the Jackson Pearl. When you look at what your goal and sort of vision for it was going to be, and sort of where you are today, is there a tremendous sense of pride that you've been able to put it all together?
I think that we've been saying that we feel like we're just now getting started, because there were so many parts, and you have a big dream and you just start rolling with it and you go after it. And Kenny Holloway, who's now the mayor of Ocean Springs, was the first person that we met when we discovered Ocean Springs, and he was so monumental in really helping us
navigate the whole process.
Yeah, and bring it all to fruition. And so it's an ongoing story that we're having fun telling, but we've been meeting so many beautiful people throughout this process, and it's become something even more amazing than we could have ever dreamed of. So that's pretty cool. And it's just year 3.
Yeah, it's fun to reflect back, and when you're knee deep in it every day, blood, sweat, and tears, it's kind of hard to really appreciate everything. But the 3-year anniversary was during Cruising the Coast. We got to sit back and reflect and really, appreciate all the hard work and the passion, the vision, and really take a step back and enjoy it, because a lot of times it flies by every day and like, oh gosh, I have to get to that project next. We have to do that next. And it was really fun to reflect.
Yeah. Hey, Ricky, I was so excited to tell you this. In the past year alone, we've booked 7 weddings by couples who are completely out of state. So they have no association with Ocean Springs or the Gulf Coast at all. And they've discovered us on Instagram, just a little small portion of social media, and have chosen to bring their entire wedding to us at the Jackson Pearl, and then all of their family and friends to the Gulf Coast, which is a huge testament to what's taking place down here.
I had this really cool conversation. By the way, every conversation I had with Julian Rankin from the Walter Anderson Museum is cool because he's such a articulate, focused guy. And, people may get tired of me saying this, but he really understands the role that art plays in the community, what leadership within the museum can play in the community, build a better community. But you mentioned the cruise on the coast, and I said this the other day on the show, but I think it's worthy of repeating to you guys. He said if you were going to do sort of this rendering, the way he discussed it, and thinking about these old cars sitting in downtown Pascagoula, but imagine an architectural model, a rendering that you're building, and you got your little people and you're placing them on the rendering, and you're creating this sort of perfect place. That's downtown Ocean Springs during Cruising the Coast. And that's just a great way to say it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And a lot of people really don't think that it's real. We hear when we have people come visit, or we're talking with out-of-town guests, it's constantly coming out of their lips saying, this place is real. We feel like a Hallmark movie. And then they start meeting the people too and discovering all of the beautiful culture and history and the restaurants and the shopping and the museums. And there's so much to do down here. And I feel like, we all know that it's a hidden gem and it's the secret, but we can't wait.
It's the vibe. It's the vibe. That's what, it's all these different things that come together in this real life rendering that create a vibe that people can feel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially when people come visit us from, the West Coast, all around the country. It's just how easy it is to spark a conversation with people, that Southern hospitality and going back to that vibe. Just people are laid back. They want to chat with you. They will make time to have friendly conversations. And, that's what we fell in love with. And it's cool to see, our friends and family when they come down.
Yeah. Okay. So when you look at on social media and you study the photos of the weddings and other events that you guys have, it's different. Everything about what you approach, how you approach it is different. How do you describe to people the Jackson Pearl approach?
Well, we've been described as it being a total vibe, which is vintage, inspired, bohemian, eclectic. But ultimately, we just create spaces that feel like home for individuals, and we try to provide a new point of view into aesthetics and even the way that events should be hosted. We just try to create a little magical space. We're always growing and building and changing things around, and that's the beauty of it. But it's definitely a combination of old and new, and
dark, moody,
dark.
Yeah. Surreal. That's the surreal, bordering on surreal. It's so unique and beautiful and interesting. It's almost like a movie set.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we get that a lot too. We get a lot of people who come in and they say, "Whoa, wait!" They'll look outside, look back inside, and say, "I had no idea that this was ever here, and this is huge, and it's magical, and it feels like a museum, and I feel like I'm in a movie set, and this is amazing." And you have people twirling, and we've created a space where people just don't want to leave. And that's a very good thing. So.
Perfect example. We gave a tour yesterday to a couple, and she's also a wedding photographer. But when she found us on social media, she was like, "This place can't be real. That can't be the same place." Some different photos she was seeing. And so it's really cool, for another creative who's a photographer to really appreciate that. And we're like, yes, they get.
Wow. You got to love what you do what you're doing, though, don't you? You got to be passionate about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. We recently were told that being in the wedding industry specifically has been voted the top 5 or top 6, maybe most stressful careers to have. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different personalities. Everybody's got to come together for one major event. That's usually planned like a year to 2 years in advance. We're already booking 2024 weddings, which is a beautiful thing, but that's a long time of anticipation. So the pressure is consistently on, but we're happy to be playing a role in these people's lives, and we look forward to so much more.
I don't know if I mentioned this the last time we were together, but I have a cousin and his wife and their family who is in the wedding business up in outside of Birmingham, Alabama. They have a place called Matthews Manor. He's a Matthews as I am. And they can do multiple weddings in one day. They're very large. They've got sort of the outdoor thing going on, and they've got sort of the barn thing going on. Then they've got a traditional cathedral, and they can do it all. But I know what you mean. There's no margin for error in their business. I mean, you got to get it right. And if you get something wrong, you got to figure out how to make it right in that moment, or you really will destroy memories. But when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Craig and Chari Davis, two of my favorite people. I've never actually ever met them in person. That's so interesting to me. But when we come back, we'll talk about where they're sitting now and why that's important to their overall entrepreneurial effort. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Coast View. When I started this show back nearly 3 years ago, I've been saying 2.5 years ago, but next January will be 3 years. We've been doing this show, over 700 conversations. But I do them at the studio in my house, and I'm retired, but I do this show, in my retirement. And when I do get out in public, which is not very often, I recently had the honor of emceeing the Salute to the Military event. Not long before that, I was able to be the keynote speaker for the One Coast Awards. And, both of those scenarios, lots of people, 500-600 people. And, guests that I've had on the show will come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm such and such. Oh, good to see you in person." So many people I've met since I started this show that I never actually knew prior to doing this show. And today's guests, Chari and Craig Davis, are two of those people. But I love the way in our first show they talked about coastal Mississippi, the heart and soul, and how we're so accepting. And Chari had just crystal clear clarity on what's in us, because she came from somewhere else and she appreciated it. Sometimes I think we as citizens here sort of take it for granted. We probably shouldn't. And by the way, this show's about reminding you not to do that. So I'm pleased to have Chari and Craig Davis with me today, just to kind of do a bit of another round to kind of get an update on how things were going. We just talked about the Jackson Pearl, this incredible event and wedding place they have in Ocean Springs. Now I want to shift gears. She mentioned that they're sitting in a very special place, another one of their entrepreneurial efforts, to Bootleg Howl in Biloxi. Talk about why that's important. Well, first of all, what is it? Just tell people what it is, and then how is it going?
Sure. It's a historic home built in 1902 on Howard Avenue in downtown Biloxi, so it's in the heart of everything. And it is a vacation rental. It's an upscale home for photography, for videography, for overnight stays and small intimate gatherings. And it's just a perfect little place to come and escape the world and be in walking distance of all the magical things on the Gulf Coast.
I can only imagine how it turned out. I know what you walked into, and when I said that, you guys are hands-on from your postings, you were deep in it, and you had a passion for this vision you had for the home. Did it turn out the way you hoped?
Even better.
Even better, yeah. I mean, we're still, it's like the Goldilocks approach. We're 100% satisfied, and I think
that will
ever be. But it turned out amazing. I mean, everything in here is a photo backdrop. And so with Chari's vision and her amazing creativity, she walked in and Odie knew how she wanted to design it. So it came out over the top.
We wanted to create a space that feels like home for people, that truly has every single detail taken care of. So you walk in and you feel like you've come home and that you're taken care of and you're in a safe place for as long as you want to stay. So that's been really, really fun, and to see the response from the community and out-of-town guests too, that's just remarkable. We love it.
We talked about Ocean Springs, but I spent a lot of time on the show talking with the mayor and others who are making very substantial investments in downtown Biloxi. In fact, I don't think there's any available land left in downtown Biloxi, with mixed use beginning to sort of evolve and all these transformations occurring downtown. It already is beginning to feel like it's beginning to have its own special sense of place. And then, of course, the casinos and what they add to the table in terms of new people that are coming to the community. I mean, where the city's going to be in 5, 6, 7 years from now, it's going to be, it will have brought life back to the downtown area in ways that they could have never imagined. You see that, don't you?
We see it, and we see it behind the. We get an incredible point of view behind the scenes. You have such an energized group of individuals from the mayor down, and local community members that just say, "Hey, let's make Biloxi a super destination location on every single angle." So you have small business owners that are meeting and having coffee or beer at Fly Llama Brewery down the street, and getting energized about perspectives of new opportunities that we could provide to people here on the coast. And that's really a remarkable thing when you have people so energized to build up their community and create a magical space.
You guys know this because you came here from California and you saw how it works. But in the new economy, there's a role for the traditional economic development when they're seeking industry and bringing employees in and such as that. I think Jackson County is doing a great job of that. We're seeing that happen at Stennis, et cetera. But in the new economy, the thing that's going to attract workers to a community is the sense of place. As they get sold on the sense, they want to be part of a community. And the other thing is, as Andres Dwani said in his effort to revolutionize new urbanism, is that people want to live, work, and play in essentially the same area. So they want to have walkable communities. They want to have restaurants nearby. They want to have entertainment. They want to have affordable housing. I know that the cost of everything is going up, but when you compare the cost of living in Mississippi, even here in coastal Mississippi, to what you guys came from in California, it's still incredibly competitive, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, there's no place like it. We're kind of obsessed, as we all know now, but it's such a great place to live, to work, to play, to be with the locals, to grow with the locals. And we're seeing this huge sense of hyper spending and hyper local spending, and this desire for locals to really support one another in all facets of business. And
keep it in their backyard.
Yeah, no doubt about that, man. No doubt about that. Look, we will spend more time together in the near future. I really enjoy our time together. We're out of time today, but I'm not disappointed at all in the short time we had together. You guys inspire greatly. Keep up the great work. We really appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
We appreciate the time as well.
This has been Chari and Craig Davis. And again, really enjoyed the conversation. Anyway, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.
You as well.